of national priority. Having said and done all of that, trust still remains the fundamental tenet, but also the biggest challenge in cyberspace, virtual space, and the future of humanity. We grapple with trust every day, and the pandemic has certainly put it to the test across the world. Governments suffered the biggest loss in trust this year based on the Edelman Trust Barometer. Key to trust is transparency and consistency, and Kaspersky takes these principles very seriously. Our commitment to transparency is evidenced by our Global Transparency Initiative, where amongst others, we welcome third parties to review our source codes and practice responsible vulnerability disclosure, with the intent to strengthen our collective baseline level of cybersecurity. In 2017, Kaspersky detected a backdoor planted in NetSarang's server management software product used by hundreds of large businesses around the world. Our researchers immediately contacted NetSarang, which promptly released an updated version of the software without the malicious code. At our transparency centers, and we've got 7 of those, by the way, across the globe currently, 3 of which are in Asia alone. In the spirit of transparency and trust, we welcome you to pay a visit and to review our source codes. If you're interested to organize a visit to our Transparency Center or to have a source code review session, which can be done remotely as well, please reach out to us. For those who may not know how to review source codes or what to look out for, we even go so far as to teach people how to evaluate product security through our vendor-agnostic cyber capacity building program. I'm happy to share that governments across Asia Pacific and the world have undergone this training. Recently, we went one step even further to provide a list of software components known as the Software Bill of Materials to help our partners better understand what's inside our products and software architecture, and hopefully provide assurance in the security and integrity of our solutions. All right, let's do a quiz and win a prize. The correct answer among the participants will be generated, and the lucky winner will win a set of Sony headphones today. The quiz is really for me to ensure that you now have a good understanding of what I've shared today. And I stress the winner will get a set of Sony headphones. So here is the poll question. Kaspersky provides a training for those who do not know how to review source codes or evaluate product security. What is the name of the training program? You would see a few options on the screen. First, Software Bill of Materials. Second, Kaspersky's Cyber Capacity Building Program. And third, No More Ransom Project. Finally, Kaspersky Global Transparency Initiative. What would the answer be? Now, give us your answers. Conclude with the following remarks. And I would like to emphasize that a concerted effort should be made to mount a strong defense against cyber attacks, and that governments and the industry can come together to plug the gaps in cybersecurity. And on the part of a private sector player such as Kaspersky, I hope we've played an exemplary role through our active partnerships, contributing to a safer world and setting the gold standard in trust through transparency. Thank you very much, and I hope you enjoy the rest of today's event.
Very well said, Ginny. Indeed, trust remains the fundamental principle for a concerted effort should be made to mount a strong defense against cyber attacks, and that everyone has a role to play to plug the gaps in cybersecurity. A cybersecurity strategy can help prevent a data breach or reduce the risk of malicious activity, while a cyber resilient strategy is the capacity to prepare for, respond to, and the ability to resume operations following a disruptive incident. Now, we are honored to invite Kathy Huang, Research Director, Security Services Worldwide from IDC, to discuss more on what is cyber resilience and is it essential for every organization to have a plan for both strategies. Kathy, please.
Thank you so much. Thanks a lot. Good day, everyone. Really admire your stamina and your patience here. I'm the last speaker for today's event. And thanks a lot for giving me this opportunity to actually share with you some IDC perspectives around cyber resilience topic. To be frank, resilience, this is a topic very important to me professionally as well as personally. I'm actually a mother of 2 primary school children, a boy and a girl. I used to be kind of a tiger mom, want my kids to excel in every subject, be it sports or academics since very young. But I don't know since when, almost like, I don't know, is it because of the pandemic or, some realization, the quality of a resilience becomes the top quality that I wish my kids to have, because it is the ability to actually handle the ups and downs of life. And it is, more importantly, is the ability to actually bounce back from any setbacks, that you have. And this kind of applies to organization as well, for today's like a theme for the event, cyber resilience. It is actually increasingly important, given the fact that the frequency of the cyber attacks, ransomware attacks, lots of the things I think Vitaly has also shared in his sharing about threat landscape. You probably all agree with me, this is really on kind of almost a normal basis. So how do we handle as an organization, this, what do we need to have or equip ourselves to have that quality of cyber resilience? So just before we go into deep dive, I just want to probably start my conversation or presentation today to share with you some of the stats that IDC has collected throughout last year, in terms of, we asked close to on a monthly basis, actually, like a group of the IT security decision makers and overall kind of the CIOs, what they have kind of been going through, especially 2 cycles. We specifically dedicate our Future Enterprise Resilience Survey on the topics of ransomware and resilience topics. So in the next couple of minutes on slides, I'm going to share with you kind of the sum of the stats in terms of all these respondents that we have gathered, in terms of their experiences with the ransomware, what kind of impact did ransomware have on their business? Did they actually pay? Does it work? Did they actually recover from, after the payment? So some of the interesting stats, just stay tuned. So as you can see in this pie chart, this is actually the study, the one that I mentioned that we collected end of last year, right? It's part of the Future Enterprise Resilience Spending Survey. It's 858 respondents across the world, across sectors, and the size of employees as well. So you see that the option actually says this is 54%, so more than half of organizations, globally report they're actually suffering a ransomware attack, and that has consequences of blocked access to their systems and data. And if I compare this data to kind of the July version, 2021 that we collected, so from that was back then it was 37%, but the latest that we have is actually 54. So you can see there's a drastically increase in terms of the number of the ransomware incidents. And in fact, we just got the latest data from August 2022 this year. So we are still in the process of analyzing that. So there are some interesting, kind of stay tuned, some of the interesting findings if we're going to compare these 3 times of data that we collected at the different time frame in terms of the trending here. So here, specifically for Asia-Pac, you can see that 70% of the respondents actually indicate they have experienced at least 1 or more ransomware incidents. That to a large extent, this is kind of coincides with some of our various stats, including the Cybersecurity Agency in Singapore, which also reported a quite high increase in terms of the number of ransomware attacks that just happened in Singapore alone. So in terms of the consequences, what kind of the business disruptions actually caused by some of this ransomware incident, you can see that majority close to, it's about 46% of respondents indicate, there's a few days of business disruptions. And And then there's also even 18% indicates the disruption lasts about a whole week. So in a separate study, what if we translate some of the business disruption into the business cost, right? We actually did a study on average, if our organization experience a downtime of a server, which actually tied to your support your business critical applications, in dollar terms, that would be 48,000 USD per hour. That's kind of the cost you are looking at, if your critical server is down. So imagine that 46% of organizations actually indicate, several days of a business disruptions is actually a tremendous financial damage, to organizations. So that was just a business, kind of a business cost, business because of the disruption, not to mention reputational costs or even legal, and also not to mention the ransomware kind of amount payment they have to pay. So the charts here, this is worldwide data. I also did take a look compared to the AP. It's very much aligned to this. So if you add the 12% as well as the 8%, so that means 20% of the that surveyed organizations, that also 1 in 5 actually pay a 6-figure ransomware ransom amount. So that's about 100,000 to millions, right? And if we take a look about kind of the mean and average ransom amounts, if you look at the July 2021 version, that's close to 250,000. That's almost about $250,000 USD. Enterprises have to pay. But of course, the data you can argue is skewed towards there are a couple of organizations actually pay much higher, in the millions. Some of the, I think, more public known high-profile ransom incidents. Some of like city of, for example, Atlanta in the States actually paid millions of ransom. So you can see, but if we compare the two cycles, it seems like the average, the mean size as well as the median in terms of ransom amount organizations need to pay is actually smaller. But remember, there's a higher, the 54%, there are growing higher number of ransom incidents actually captured in the latest cycle. So this is also a very interesting one. We actually asked, the respondents whether they pay the ransom and to what extent they actually recover, right, from the given encryption, so-called the stolen the encryption key, or whether they will be recover from not paying a ransom, but they recover from their encrypted data or files from their own backup. So only 36% of respondents indicate they manage to recover to the extent they can operationally viable. But the one highlighted in red, 5%, they paid, but they didn't. But they actually didn't manage to actually recover. Then there's also the other categories of 34% about did not recover, did not pay, and which there's one stats I think here in Asia which is really concerning. When I see from regional variance, how AP organizations, there's a high percentage, 39% of organizations actually choose, they didn't take any actions at all. When we ask them, there's a list of actions, when they actually experience, highly visible ransomware incidents. And hopefully with the stepping up of some of the regulators, especially from the financial sector, that we started to see, this will change. And also the latest data that we're analyzing, I think it's kind of a changing in Asia as well. But again, in terms of the boardroom level response, there's also a big contrast. In AP is about 16% versus US, close to 49 point, I think close to 50% is actually 49% something, indicate, after as a result of increased awareness of the ransomware incident, their board of directors, as well as the C-suite, actually request their CIO or CISO to have the presentation to understand, where they are in terms of the cybersecurity posture, the resilience, the recovery plans here. Okay, so other than the ransomware that we have discussed, there are some other type of resilience challenges that we have seen, and one and foremost is the traditional BCDR, business continuity and disaster recovery practices, are not able to actually meet today's cyber recovery expectations. And in some of the stats, we have seen that it's very interesting. Some of the attacks, including the ransomware attacks, actually specifically target the backup systems. And a lot of time, 23%, in fact, that was successful. So it just shows that the traditional BCDR plans are not really equipped to actually meet today's kind of the cyber recovery expectations. And that's why we actually surveyed, again, this is a little bit more along the line. Overall, this is not just about IT security decision makers. So this one, when we ask about the overall IT technology decision makers, what type of investments they think provide the greatest strategic advantage to their organization, when they go through the whole transformation or become the digitally viable business, right? By far, so cybersecurity as well as recovery, has been highlighted as the top one. But again, North America actually leads that adoption and have that type of kind of perception, and closely followed by the second type of investments is around data protection and data management. So I think this is kind of understandable, when we talk about lots of the enterprises are embarking and also progressing on their digital transformation journey. And lots of time, the need to actually protect so-called the digital currency is actually in the data format. So the capability not only just about protect and defend, but also quickly recover with, with a minimal kind of like damage. It's that the strong pairing of the defense as well as the recovery in order to have the total kind of resilience type of capabilities. So this one, if I use the equation, math equation in simple terms, the definition or the concept of cyber resilience, really it's not kind of overlapping. It's not sit alone in siloish, but you definitely have to work along with the overall kind of cybersecurity strategy, as well as I think the key difference here is really put stronger emphasis around the whole recovery type of capabilities. So cyber resilience, in simple terms, equals to overall cybersecurity, which with more emphasis around whole protection, detection, plus the recovery, that you have that kind of end-to-end cyber resilience plan or strategy that we are talking about. And one thing I want to highlight in this particular slide is really the step one, because again, the whole cyber resilience capabilities, it's more like a program. It's a capability that goes beyond just about solutions, the technologies, but also the whole process, whether you can identify the key applications and the related data that comes to our organization's immediate operation, and whether you have that context, what is important to a healthcare institution, it will be very different from what is important to a financial institution. And that requires really not just your IT team's efforts, but more broadly across your organizations, in conversations with your line of business to understand what is more critical, what is more important, to fit the concept of what I highlighted here, the minimal viable operations here. So, and also on the technology side, this is kind of interesting. If you recall, 55% of the respondents indicate they experience a ransomware attacks, or breaches, but the rest actually have not, right? So for those who have not, we also ask them, okay, so what's your view about, what types of security technologies, if any, that help you, to kind of what would be the so-called the perceived most effective thing to pretend, help you to defend, right? So if I compare the AP stats versus the global, it's interesting how EDR, as well as kind of the cloud security gateway being highlighted. But if I want to kind of design this question again, I definitely want to include threat intelligence as an option as well, because I think, the previous speaker also highlighted, in order to have that intelligence-led approach to your overall cybersecurity program, you need to have that understanding at the tactical level as well as the operational level, even strategic level, to understand what is going on, among the adversary groups. So this is on the technology side. Given the time, I think, we have actually discussed, this is a kind of a topic really requires more discussion, as well as more awareness. As I kind of highlighted, to an individual, it's a really good, important quality to have. For organization, this also ties to the overall kind of the digital resilience and the overall kind of operational resilience. I think some of the regulators also started to introduce or emphasize more in the market. And the whole ability to kind of adapt your organization to the business disruptions by leveraging, the capabilities. So not only just to kind of restore the business operations, but also capitalize on the change conditions. I just want to probably close my session by sharing one interesting quote or conversations I actually had kind of at the start of the pandemic. When I had a chance to talk to our founder as well as the CEO of Asia-based kind of training firm, IT training company. And he actually shared with me, if the pandemic actually happened a decade ago, let's say 2009, it will be much more disastrous, because back then they didn't invest in any digital capabilities, no cloud, no sorts of digital capabilities, right? So in fact, they actually, the organization, the training organization actually leverage what they have, not only just enable their staff, the employees, the trainer to actually work from home safely, securely, but also to offer some of the one-on-one, I think the personalized online training program, and also even expand their business kind of internationally throughout the pandemic. To me, that was really a great success. What we mean by this whole digital resilience, not only just to survive, but even thrive, in the difficult situations. All right, with that, I thank you so much for your time. I'm definitely looking forward to your comments as well as your progress you're going to make in your organizations around your cyber resilience efforts, what works and what's not. And thank you so much for your time again.
Thank you so much, Kathy, for this insightful keynote speech. Now, coming up next, we have a panel discussion. We'll have industry experts discuss how cyber resilience is being perceived in their own regions in this thoughtful discussion, Cyber Resilience Beyond Security.
Thank you very much, Kathy, for an insightful session on building cyber resilience in the digital era. We are honored to have what I'll call a right mix of panelists here with me today to have an in-depth conversation on cyber resilience beyond, on what it means to have a cyber resilient strategy, and is it even important to have both cybersecurity and cyber resilience strategies for all organizations, whether big or small. So once again, warm welcome to all our panelists. Let me now introduce them, starting from my far right. We have Dipesh Kara, General Manager for South Asia and Kaspersky, and then we have Kathy Huang, Research Director for Security Services Worldwide at IDC, and of course, we've got Yo Xiang Tiong, General Manager for Southeast Asia and Kaspersky. I would like to now just maybe first turn to Kathy. Now, that was a great presentation.
Thank you.
And you shared about the importance of organizations having to rapidly adapt to business disruptions through effective cybersecurity strategies, and also cybersecurity recovery programs. Well, then could you please maybe reiterate the definition of cyber resilience and how it is different from cybersecurity?
Sure. Love to. Thanks for this opportunity. So like what I've presented, if you recall that kind of a simple formula that I sort of put, or I call equation right after the definition of cyber resilience equals to cyber security plus recovery. Because I think as an industry, we have actually focused quite a lot about depth in defense, more on the protection side, more lately on the detection and response. I think the whole cyber resilience really calls out the growing importance about that recovery capabilities. So like what I have also highlighted, what actually includes what do you mean by cyber recovery? That really explain that capability to quickly recover and minimize that, attacks, cyber attacks, be it ransomware or any data breaches. And so that recovery capability, I would say that's a key difference between cybersecurity and cyber resilience, these two concepts.
All right, thank you. When you mentioned disaster recovery, it's also not the same as cyber recovery capability.
That's right.
Could you maybe just quickly recap the key differences?
Sure. In fact, throughout, I can't believe this is already second or third year of, pandemic. At the beginning of the pandemic, we have been running all the pandemic-related survey, and it actually, that data points really memorable. Close to 40% of the organizations across Asia-Pac actually report that, they have to review their BCDR, the business continuity disaster recovery. And for that one, lots of time it's not really well suited for, a health kind of a pandemic, global pandemic issues like what we are experiencing because of COVID. And related to that, extending to that, a lot of the kind of the existing or traditional BCDR plans are not equipped to actually handle, the rising ransomware attacks, the cyber attacks. And one of the key difference, I think, it's really the identification of the critical systems, to different organizations. What is important to a financial services institution is so different for the healthcare institution, right? And more importantly, when you do that whole air-gapped kind of a vault or the recovery bit, whether you can do the scanning of the malicious attacks, errors, that usually are not often being seen probably as a traditional BCDR plan. So that's this kind of required when we talk about cyber recovery program here.
Right, that's interesting. Very interesting perspective there. And what came to my mind was really what Eugene Kaspersky also mentioned on several occasions about the concept of cyber immunity, where he presented how cyber immunity really is important in building a safer world in the days ahead. So fundamentally, it's a new approach to building a safer world. The fourth industrial revolution means that everyone, everything that everyone does is computerized with machine learning systems you use widely, in various fields of activity. And today, cybersecurity is about more than just protecting endpoint devices. It's about developing an ecosystem where everything connected is protected and all the systems are secure by design. So Kaspersky calls such a concept cyber immunity. So switching over to Xiang Tiong, whom I always have regarded to be a veteran, and having worked with many clients in Southeast Asia, do you see a different set of cybersecurity strategies between the large enterprises and the smaller, maybe medium-sized enterprises across the Southeast Asia markets that you look after?
Yeah. Yes, generally I do see a different strategy, but it is actually driven more by budget than by size. Put it this way, whenever I engage the businesses, I will always tell them in order of priority, you invest in the parameter and the endpoint because you secure the resources first. And then you move on to do the predictive part, right? So that is the advanced part of prevention when you talk about having threat intelligence for the early warning system. And then when the budget allows, for all of them, then they will move on to the recovery stage when they talk about incident response, and also talk about how, as a company, they recover, how they face the media, how they face the onslaught of questions after an outage. So, yes, it depends on the size of the budget. It depends on the criticalness of the industry they're in. Then they will spend according to this scale that I talk about.
So it's actually a very practical approach in that sense.
It has to be. There's always a limited resource of budget chasing after things that you need to do.
So in your opinion, actually, how much cyber resilience would you say is enough? How is cyber resiliency evaluated?
There's actually no yardstick of any form. And therefore, what I will do whenever I talk to businesses about resilience, I will first talk about awareness. And then I will talk about the recovery stage, which is the response. Minimally, they should have signed up with someone or have the capability within themselves to handle should there be any breaches. We just did a survey in Southeast Asia recently of all the C-level, non-IT C-level. Surprisingly, or should I say, not surprisingly, given the topic today, 5% of the businesses have invested in recovery. And that's very scary, right?
Okay, that's statistics are there, and hopefully, they improve over time also, as there are more awareness of importance of certain of these aspects. I would like to now maybe ask Dipesh. Dipesh, your role, as I understand, focuses a lot on strategic planning, driving large enterprises to understand cybersecurity issues and becoming more engaged in threat management, right? Which is very important work. So do you think cyber resilience strategy is or has become an emphasis among these large businesses? What's your take?
Well, there has definitely been a lot of changes in the way people have been looking at it from a response perspective now. I think cyber resilience is now becoming a more realistic approach about how do you create a mechanism where detection can be done by tools, but what happens once the detection has been highlighted by a tool? How do you create the response mechanism? What is the kind of response mechanisms that you have? Do you have enough playbooks in place? Have you defined the right roles for your response team as to who does what in a cyber threat kind of a situation? And I think from the last 6-7 years, if I reflect back the way cyber was and the way cyber is being looked at today is really evolved, if not matured. There is a conscious effort to think beyond tools, which is where the key aspect of getting the whole resilience story built around for your cyber ecosystem is being looked into. So large enterprises, definitely capable in terms of resources, definitely capable in terms of getting the right investments for the right kind of tools, for the right kind of practices. But the problem completely is at a different level when you look at the MSMEs or the SMB segment, because that is where now, if you see the last 2 years, the attacks have gone up. And that is the segment which is most affected now. And they are the ones who are trying to put together a story. I think that is where we need to help them create frameworks, create the right kind of strategies in terms of, what should be the kind of investments they should be looking at based on the cyber maturity that they already have, and what should be the kind of response mechanism, what is the framework that they should be looking at, in the event of a breach. So two different worlds of cyber today. One is the enterprise segment who is trying to keep at pace with the cyber attacks that are happening. Everything is evolving, things are changing, and trying to match the speed. But there's a lot of catch up that comes into picture when the moment you step into the SMB segment, especially the mid market is something which is most effective and is trying to get at pace. So that's how things are right now.
Which I think sort of brings out for us, according to your experience, how things have been evolving, and businesses at all scales, at all levels, of all sizes actually are beginning to really sit up and pay attention to this very important topic. So I think that's great. But can I maybe just take one step further and ask you, of course we don't have to name names of your clients, but if you could just maybe cite an example in your market of such an organization, how cyber resilience has been implemented in one of these organizations. What would it be? What comes to mind?
So, in fact, I've got two use cases or two case studies that come to my mind. One from the core banking segment, and one is coming from the ITES segment.
Both are very, very key
technology
sectors,
dependent. Yeah. Exactly. Technology dependent and technology critical sectors. The banking segment has, the way they've created their ecosystem right now, they were in this phase of migration, of updating or upgrading their entire cybersecurity posture. What I really enjoyed working with them was their approach right from the very beginning was cybersecurity in the center and everything works around it. So a very modern approach where they were actually discussing the use cases and pain points which they had with us and how we could add value and cover them up, rather than getting into discussions as to, I want an EDR, I want MDR, or, that kind of product discussion. So the entire approach was more about how do I protect myself if I'm in a situation given the use cases that they have. Very, very interesting. Very, very successful in the way the whole implementation has happened. And if I look at the ITES segment, they were two focus areas. One was more around how soon can I detect? And once I have the detection in place, what should be the response mechanism and how the tools can be influential in improving the response mechanism and creating the right kind of, how do I say, a scenario that they know whether they are on top of the cyber situation or there is still some more catch up that needs to be done. Also, a lot of focus in the ITES segment about going to the board and telling them what has happened and what is the mitigation plan that they are already working on. So, two diverse business verticals, but I would say a very, very interesting cyber security approach rather than, just investing on people or just buying tools or, just trying to meet a compliance. So two very interesting case studies in the last 1 year, which we have had.
Thank you for that. And I agree. Very interesting indeed. And it seems to me, therefore, that our role is to be more of consultants, actually, rather than just transactional salespeople in a sense. Yeah. And so with that, actually, I think it's time for us to sort of round up a little bit. Cyber resilience is all about, it seems to, about taking a strategic approach to resolving systemic issues. Cyber resilience is not about ad hoc responses to incidents as they arise or, buying, solutions for the sake of doing so. Achieving cyber resilience requires a holistic approach encompassing people, processes, and technology, as highlighted by our panelists. And in order to stay ahead with cyber resilience, I think it would be right for us to say that, we urge all organizations to not only look at how to prevent a data breach or to reduce the risk of malicious activities, but beyond it, every organization needs to be prepared for needs to respond to and have the ability to resume your operations following a disruptive incident, which is the recovery bit, which Kathy mentioned earlier on. So this is, I believe, the holistic cyber resilience message we hope to bring to you. I just really want to ask each of our panelists for their final remarks, that one key takeaway you want to tell our audience before we finish off this panel discussion. What would that one key comment or one key pointer or tip that might be? So if I can maybe go in the same order and invite Kathy to start first.
Sure. I really, what Dipesh and also Tiong Song just now shared really resonate with me in the sense, have a plan. Don't jump to the tool sets, technology first. I think that's very important. When you have a plan, you need to make sure that's just not created or designed by your IT department. You need to really be able to have that cross-enterprise kind of a collaboration, identify what are the key systems, right? So that's really, during my presentation, I also brought the concept of minimal viable organization. So when you are under attacks, which are the core parts you have to kind of make sure always on. So that's very important. So that's kind of give you the priority. So maybe to summarize, have a plan and also test your plan. So you can't just, have a plan, on that, just assume everybody knows, without really take actions or, test the plan. You can't do that. So in order to be effective, you have a plan first that links to, the mindset change as well as test your plan.
And after testing the plan, I suppose stick to the plan.
You can also constantly evolve, right?
Yeah. And then review the plan, right?
That's
and
right.
See what
That's
and
right.
constantly
Yeah.
test it. Yeah. Thank you very much for that. Maybe Xiang Tiong, your...
Well, from my perspective, I think planning is definitely important. It's also important who we involve. It should be the whole organization approach, from the C-level to the IT, to the security, to every individuals in the organization. The planning part, the defense part is not just a tool, as what we have all pointed out. It is also getting the right people involved. Even in the recovery stage, how does the media, the COPCOM people react to the onslaught of questions? How does the C-level react to the National Cybersecurity Agency asking for inputs? How do they work with the CERT? All this needs to be tested. All this needs to be part of the plan, which is why I say it needs to be an all-organization approach rather than just give it to the IT security.
So it means also even the users should try to be involved
Exactly.
and be aware of what's going on rather than following blindly, right? Yeah. And also, I suppose a lot of the feedback on the realities, the ground issues could also come from users, which then informs us what the plan might be. Yeah. So just linking both sets of comments together. Now, last but definitely not the least, Dipesh, can I have your one key takeaway that you a key pointer you want to give our audience today?
I absolutely resonate with what Kathy just pointed out. Given the way cybersecurity is evolving in the Indian market and the South Asian market, my observation is organizations really need to work on creating a governance model or a framework to get into a practice to test their cybersecurity posture. That's how you will be able to find the lacunas, the gaps that have been created with the new threats that have evolved, and that will make you more resilient when you're in a situation faced by cyber attacks. So that's what I look at and the way I feel about it.
That's very good. That's a very nice way of rounding up everyone, or rather all of the discussion today. And thank you, everyone. I just want to, thank the panelists for such an insightful discussion, and also to our audience for being with us today. I hope you've enjoyed this session as much as I did moderating it, with Kathy Huang from IDC, with Yo Xiang Tiong and Dipesh Kara from Kaspersky. My name is Jeannie Gan, signing off. Thank you very much for being with us today. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
And thank you, panelists, for sharing the best practices and providing an eye-opener in the topics surrounding cybersecurity versus cyber resilience and what it means to organizations. I really love the takeaway about having a plan, hatching your plan, and of course, sticking to your plan. Now, ladies and gentlemen, are you ready to win some prizes? Since we know that all of you have been paying attention so far, we're sure that those poll questions would have been an absolute breeze for all of you, and we already have all of the winners. Now, in Yok Chong's section, How to Strengthen Your Cybersecurity Infrastructure, the first question was, how many new malicious objects do Kaspersky Lab experts detect every day? Now, the lucky winner with the fastest fingers and the correct answer of A, of 360,000. The winner for the question is Eileen Wong from Gamuda. Congratulations, you have won an earpiece set from Jabra, which is the Jabra Elite 7 Pro. Now, Yok Chong's second question was, Kaspersky's threat intelligence is aggregated from a collection of distinctly different sources. And the correct answer was Global Research and Analysis Team. Now, the lucky winner with the correct answer was Kelvin Ung from CSS Industrial. Congratulations, you have won a Marshall Eberton portable Bluetooth speaker. Now, of course, you need to reach out to us via the Q&A box, and we will contact you for your prize. Next, in Ginny's section, A Safer World Amid Uncertainties and Diversities, the question was, Kaspersky provides a training for all of those who do not know how to review source codes or evaluate product security. What was the name of that training program? The correct answer was Kaspersky's Cyber Capacity Building Program. So the lucky winner will walk away with a set of Sony headphones. And the winner for today's last question is Rich Koiko from Advanced Solutions Incorporated. Congratulations for winning a set of fantastic Sony headphones. Now, congratulations to all of our incredibly lucky winners, and thank you everyone for being so participative in the polls. Now, once again, winners, please reach out to us via the Q&A box, and our team will contact you for the prizes. Now, we have prepared a live band to keep you seated all the way until the end. Before the performance begins, please complete a short feedback form which is located on your screen. We would appreciate everyone to take a few seconds to go ahead and fill it out. Your feedback is incredibly important to us, so please tell us what you think so that we can continuously improve our program and bring you the relevant topics and insightful topics directly to you. Last but not least, hope you have noted today's key message that cybersecurity is no longer enough. Businesses need cyber resilience. Thank you so much for joining us today. Enjoy the live band performance while you're taking the time to fill in the survey. We'll see you next time.
Hello everybody, hope you're ready for some music, because we've got that prepared for you today. We are Gabe on keys, Shannon on the drum set, and my name is Enya. And I think you'll recognize this tune, so we got Hope It Gets You in the Mood. together and decided to create a dream come true. So they sprinkle moon dust in your head, golden starlight in your eyes of blue. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That is why all the boys in town follow you all around. Just like me, they long to be close to you. Hey, ooh, on the day that you were born, the angels got together and decided to create that dream come true. So they sprinkle moon dust in your hair, golden starlight in your eyes of blue. That is why all the boys in town follow you all around. Just like me, they long to be close to you. Just like me, they long to be close to you. Na 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 na. Yeah. Na 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 na. Close to you. Na 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 na. Close to you. Na 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 na. Close to you. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Hey, yeah, yeah, yeah. Na 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 na, yeah, yeah, yeah. I love you, ooh, but I gotta stay true. Ooh. My morals got me on my knees. I'm begging, please stop playing games. I don't know what you do, but you do it when I'm under your spell. I don't know what this is, but you got me just like I knew you would. You got me begging you for my sake. Hey, hey, why won't you release me? Why begging you for mercy? Why won't you release me? Yeah, yeah, I say release me. Now you think that I will be something to the side. Oh no, but you gotta understand, I need a man who can take my hand. Yes, I do. I don't know what this is, but you got me good, just like I knew you would. I don't know what you do, Give me some mercy, yes, Alrighty, and that was a couple of songs, starting with an oldie but a goodie by the Carpenters, and following up with a song by an artist from, I believe, Britain, and her name was Duffy. And we have one more song for you to round up today's program, as far as the music menu goes, and we hope you enjoy. This one is by the Queen of Soul herself, Aretha, and it's very sweet. And this is our prayer. The moment I wake up, before I put on my makeup, I say a little prayer for you. I'm combing my hair now and wondering what dress to wear now. I say a little prayer for you. Forever and ever, you'll stay in my heart, and I will love you forever and ever. We never will part. Oh, how I love you together, together. That's how it must be to live without it would only mean heartbreak for me. I run for the bus while riding, I think of us, dear. I say a little prayer for you. At work, I just take time, and all through my coffee break time, I say a little prayer for you. Forever and ever, you'll stay in my heart, and I will love you forever and ever. We never will part. Oh, how I love you together, together. That's how it must be to live without it would only mean heartbreak for me. My darling, believe me. For me, there is no one, no one, no one but you. Please love me true, 'cause I'm in love with you. Answer my prayer, baby. Say you love me too, because I am in love with you. Yes, say love me too, say love me too. Ooh, forever and ever, you'll stay in my heart, and I will love you forever and ever. We never will part. Oh, how I love you together, together. That's how it must be to live without it would only mean heartbreak for me. Forever and ever, you'll stay in my heart, and I will love you forever and ever. We never will part. Oh, how I love you together, together. That's how it must be to live without it would only mean heartbreak for me. I say a little prayer. This is my prayer. Say a little prayer. Thank you all for listening. We hope you're having a wonderful week so far. Until we see you next time.